Well, the final part of this chapter discusses notary fees, and we're going to talk about the limits on fees and when a notary may not charge any fees at all. So there are four basic rules about the fees that a notary public can charge. First, there are maximum fees allowed by law that the notary public can charge, and of course, a notary public cannot charge more than those maximum fees. Second, except for notaries who are employed for and on behalf of a state or county public agency, a notary public is not required to charge a fee at all. A notary public could decide, for example, not to charge a fee for completing a certificate of acknowledgement or providing a photocopy of his or her journal pages. Also, a notary public's employer could make it a condition of employment that the notary public charges no fee for notarial services. Third, whether or not a notary public charges a fee, the notary must record that actual amount in the notary journal, including writing 0 to indicate that no fee was charged. In other words, a number or 0 must be reflected in the notary public's journal to complete the record for each notarial act. Fourth, you'll remember from our previous video that there's no fee prescribed for those notaries who are employed by a financial institution who can perform a protest in the course and scope of their employment, since it's part of the notary public service to the financial institution.
All right, we're going to now talk about the maximum fees that a notary can charge for notarial services. Please note that this does not include travel fees, so we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a bit. For taking an acknowledgement, the notary may charge $15 for each signature notarized. For administering the oath or affirmation to a person in a jurat procedure and executing the jurat certificate, including putting the notary seal on there, the notary can charge $15. For all services in connection with taking any depositions, a notary may charge $30 and can charge an additional $7 for administering the oath to the witness and $7 for preparing the certificate for the deposition. For certifying a copy of a power of attorney, $15. Now you'll remember from a previous video that we're allowed to charge a maximum of 30 cents per line item copied from a journal entry if any member of the public needs to have a copy of that.
If a notary public is appointed to act for and on behalf of a state or county public agency as an employee of the agency, fees must be charged for all services. You'll remember we talked about that. And those fees must be remitted or turned over to the employing agency. And of course, the actual notary fee must still be entered into the notary sequential journal. Now, a notary public who's obtained a commission from his or her private employer may negotiate with that employer whether or not fees are to be charged, and may also reach an agreement with that employer as to whether or not those fees that are charged, if they are, will be remitted back to that employer. There are also some very specific times when a notary public is prohibited from charging a fee. Notaries appointed to a military or naval reservation may not charge a fee for any notarial service or act. A notary public acting in his or her official capacity on behalf of the state, city, or county, or any public body cannot charge for a notarization of an affidavit, application, or voucher in relation to securing a pension. A notary public cannot charge for notarization of a signature on an application by a United States military veteran for a claim for a pension, allotment, allowance, compensation, insurance, or any other veteran's benefit. A notary public cannot charge to notarize signatures on vote by mail ballot identification envelopes or other voting materials. And a notary public cannot charge for notarizing any nomination document or circulator's affidavit. So the rule of thumb to remember is that you don't charge fees to military veterans for veterans benefits, for pensions, for allotments, allowances, and insurance, anything associated with that veterans benefit. Another rule of thumb is that basically for any voting or election materials, no charge. The one other thing that I want to mention about notary fees is that notary fees and travel fees are different. Notaries are limited to what they're allowed to charge for notary services. So if somebody comes into an office, you have a notary sign, a notary public sign hanging out, and somebody comes into your office, then you have a limitation placed on you as to what you're allowed to charge for those services. But if you travel, or if you work as a loan signer and you receive a certain amount to go to a loan signing, then keep in mind that the maximum fees that you charge for the notarial services would be entered into the journal as those maximum fees. And again, you don't have to charge any fees for the notary acts, but then anything aside from that would be travel fees. So if you get a call to go to a hospital, for example, to notarize a signature,
You're, of course, only allowed to charge $15 for the acknowledgement on the signature. So let's say you charged $80 for travel. The total bill is $95. And of course, $80 of that is a travel charge. Keep in mind, you do not put the travel charge in your journal. Only the notary fees go in your journal.
So I hope all that makes sense for you, and that's going to wrap up chapter number 2, and we're going to move on to chapter number 3, which talks about misconduct by notaries or other people relating to notarial acts.